Hey, what's up, guys? This is David Chase Taylor of 911truth.org. Today is February 16th of 2025. So, based on breaking news and events, it appears the CIA headquarters located beneath CERN at Lake Geneva in Switzerland is going to stage a Russian offensive during the live broadcast of the 2025 NBA All-Star Game in San Francisco, California, and/or the 50th anniversary Saturday Night Live special, airing on the evening of February 16th in the United States. As we know, the CIA always stages terror attacks when they have an audience, and the evening of February 16th appears to be one of those dates. So, exactly what type of attack the CIA plans to frame Russia for is obviously not known, but it will likely be one of three options or three scenarios. The first being Russian terror attacks, CBRN, that's chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear in nature. There's also the possibility of Russia releasing a novel airborne virus or a weaponized contagion such as anthrax, Ebola, or smallpox. Option or scenario B would be Russian nuclear ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile strikes targeting multiple locations in the United States or Canada. And C would be Russian blackjack bombers executing strategic bombing attacks using tactical nuclear weapons targeting United States Armed Forces commands in the United States or American cities. So just to give you a little bit of background about what's transpiring in the United States this evening on February 16th, if you'll recall, back on February 20th of 2014, Russia attacked and invaded Crimea. Coincidentally, they already had the Sevastopol naval base there, so they basically took back property that was already theirs. On March 24, 2014, one Barack Hussein Obama instructed European allies to kick Russia out of the G8, and this was specifically to provide a timely motive for a Russian revenge attack targeting Europe and/or the United States at a later date. Then on February 24th of 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, only about 30 miles into Ukraine, which according to Putin was to cleanse or clean out the area of what are proxy mercenaries that Ukraine is sending into Russia. And then all shit hit the fan on Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, when Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, picked up the phone and called one Vladimir Putin. And it was the first time in 3 years that anybody had actually spoken from the West to Putin. And during this historic phone conversation, they agreed to hold peace talks in each other's respective nations. And this has subsequently gotten the CIA and their European minions into a tizzy fit because they're planning to frame Russia for acts of terrorism or acts of war. 2 days later, they held the Munich Security Conference in Munich, Germany, from February 14th through 16th. On the 15th of February, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky stated that he called for an armed forces of Europe, and this is an army of Europe, and this is because they're getting ready, and this is what the night of February 16th is about, and the date of February 17th in Europe. They're getting ready to frame Russia for these heinous crimes, war crimes or acts of terrorism, and therefore they have to get everybody psychologically ready for this. And so I have identified three distinct plots by Nato, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is headquartered in Brussels, Belgium, to frame Russia for acts of war or terrorism to start World War III. And coincidentally, in the aftermath of these attacks, which are slated to transpire on the evening of February 16th in the United States or Canada, or on the date of February 17th in Europe or Eastern Europe, One, Emmanuel Macron, the Prime Minister of France, has called an emergency summit in Paris tomorrow, February 17th, to address Trump. That's the cover, but the real motive for this meeting is that this is the invasion of Russia. So European allies are going to form a so-called coalition of the willing, and they're going to attack Russia, and this is going to start all-out World War III. I'm going to get into what type of attack is planned for Russia. You can read it on my blog. It's called Operation Carte Blanche. Excuse me, but I'll just check really quick just to make sure. Give you the right information here. No, it's called Operation Grand Slam, and that's the impending attack and invasion of Europe, which I'll get into in a second. So basically, I've identified 3 attack plots. Coincidentally, after I wrote all 3 of these plots, I went to the list of NATO exercises on Wikipedia, and I found the exact same scenarios. So the first one that I identified was called Operation Strike Back, which was for a Russian attack on NATO bases around the Black Sea, Ukraine, Romania, and Hungary, and Turkey. The second one I identified was Operation Carte Blanche, which was a Russian nuclear attack targeting the International Criminal Court headquarters at The Hague and NATO headquarters in Brussels, Belgium. And then today, I found the third one, which is entitled Operation Sky Shield, which is for Russian nuclear attacks targeting United States Armed Forces command centers across the United States, from Colorado to Alabama to Florida to Nebraska, etc. You can check it out. It's called Operation Sky Shield. So basically, the Operation Grand Slam, which is the European, U.S.-led NATO invasion of Russia, is supposed to transpire on the 17th in the aftermath of these attacks by Russia, which are slated for February 16th in the United States and Canada, or February 17th in the European Union or Eastern Europe. So exactly what these attacks will look like is obviously not known, as I mentioned, but the response, Operation Grand Slam, is probably going to be a threefold exercise. So the first one is going to be a NATO Air Force Base bombing attack targeting cities and military installations in Russia. And then the second phase is probably going to be, the second phase is probably going to be the 25,000 Israeli Defense Forces called up during Operation Breaking Dawn are probably going to airdrop into Moscow, Russia, and seize the Kremlin Palace, the Russian Parliament, the Federal Assembly, and a Red Square, and seize Moscow that way. Likely the 82nd Airborne, who a few days before the most recent invasion of Ukraine landed in Janiski, Poland, which is relatively near to Moscow. So they'll probably do the dirty work, and then the Israeli IDF will secure the location. But it will likely come on the heels of terror attacks by the Azov Battalion, the neo-Nazi battalion of Ukraine, possibly targeting European capitals such as Berlin, Paris, Brussels, London, or Rome. The notion that Russia is going to attack the United States and or that the European Union and NATO are going to attack and invade Russia has been foreshadowed by a number of reports. I'm just going to read you the headlines. If you'd like to Google them, feel free. But Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjáró stated that prominent EU elites seek to derail Ukraine peace talks, and from the Associated Press, Western states secretly discussing Ukraine troop deployments. So they're basically getting ready to move a bunch of troops from the European Union to Ukraine, and this is basically the cover for moving a bunch of troops into Russia to basically for regime change in Russia, which will obviously trigger all-out nuclear World War III. And this is all because Donald J. Trump has contacted Russian President Vladimir Putin and to discuss an end to the war. And so that's why they're getting absolutely desperate to stage attacks by Russia in order to justify a full-scale European Union or NATO-led attack and invasion of Russia, which is going to trigger all-out World War III. So once this happens, then they're going to start dropping nukes everywhere, and it's going to get really bad really quick. Obviously, that cannot be allowed to happen. So if the CIA stages any sort of false flag Russian terror attacks or Russian bombing attacks or Russian nuclear missile strikes or a European coalition-led attack or invasion of Russia, I kindly ask that you download this video and share it with local, state, and federal law enforcement, military, and intelligence officials, as well as with local, national, and international media outlets. Peace.